What's the most terrifying ghost story you've ever heard? Was it a vengeful spirit? A haunted house? A mysterious shadow in the corner of your eye? Well, what if I told you the scariest ghost of all isn't one that haunts a house, but one that haunts your own mind? Today, we're diving into a true story that blurs the line between the supernatural and psychological paranoia. A story that will make you question everything you see, especially your own reflection. Our story begins with a woman named Eleanor. One rainy evening, while driving home, her car skidded on the slick asphalt, leading to a severe accident. When she woke up in the hospital, the world was a fog. The doctors, her family, they were all strangers. She had amnesia. She couldn't remember her name, her past, her life. She was a blank slate, and her reflection in the mirror was that of a stranger. This was terrifying enough, but the real horror was yet to begin. As Eleanor started her slow recovery at home, a place that felt utterly unfamiliar, she began noticing things. It started subtly, a flicker in her peripheral vision when she passed a mirror, a feeling of being watched when she was alone. She dismissed it as post-traumatic stress, her brain's way of coping with a massive void where her memory should be. But then, it became impossible to ignore. One morning, as she stood in front of the bathroom mirror, trying to connect with the face staring back at her, it happened. For a split second, the reflection wasn't hers. The face was gaunt, with eyes that held a deep, ancient sadness. The lips were twisted into a silent, desperate plea. It was gone as quickly as it appeared, leaving Eleanor's heart pounding against her ribs. She splashed cold water on her face, convinced she was hallucinating, a side effect of her medication or the trauma. But it happened again and again. Every reflective surface became a portal to this terrifying visage. The polished surface of the toaster, the dark screen of her television, even a puddle on the street after a rainstorm. The strange face would flash for a moment, its expression growing more intense, more sorrowful each time. It never spoke, but its eyes screamed a story Eleanor couldn't understand. Was she going mad? Was her mind broken by the accident, creating this phantom as a way to process the trauma? Her family was worried. They saw her fear, her avoidance of mirrors. They brought in therapists and psychologists. They spoke of dissociative identity, of Capgras, delusion, condition where you believe a loved one has been replaced by an imposter. In Eleanor's case, perhaps she believed her own reflection was an imposter. It was a logical, scientific explanation. It made sense, but it didn't feel right to Eleanor. The presence felt too real, too separate from herself. It felt ancient. The line between reality and hallucination completely dissolved. Eleanor was living in a constant state of dread. Was this a symptom of her brain injury? A complex form of psychological paranoia? Or was she being haunted? Had the accident, the near-death experience, somehow opened a door to something else? Something that had been waiting, lurking just beyond the veil, and now saw an opportunity in her fragmented mind. This question became her obsession. Driven by a desperate need for answers, Eleanor, against her family's advice, began digging into the history of her home, a place she didn't even remember. With the help of a local historian, she uncovered something chilling. Decades ago, a woman had lived in that very house. A woman who had suffered a great tragedy and, consumed by grief, had vanished without a trace. The only remaining image of her was a single, faded photograph. When the historian showed Eleanor the picture, a cold dread washed over her. The woman in the photograph, with her gaunt features and profoundly sad eyes, was the same woman she'd been seeing in the mirror. It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a product of her traumatized mind. It was her, a spirit, lost and bound to the property, reaching out through reflections to the one person who might be able to see her. But why, Eleanor? Was it because her own mind was a blank slate, more receptive to the supernatural? Did the spirit recognize a kindred feeling of being lost and disconnected from the world? Eleanor realized the face wasn't trying to scare her. It was trying to communicate. The sad eyes weren't a threat. They were a plea for help, for recognition. The spirit just wanted to be seen, to be remembered. This revelation changed everything. Instead of fear, Eleanor began to feel a strange sense of empathy for the ghost in her mirror. She started talking to the reflection, not as a monster, but as a fellow lost soul. She would tell the woman her name, tell her that she wasn't forgotten. Slowly, miraculously, the appearances became less frequent. The sorrow in the spirit's eyes seemed to soften, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. As Eleanor started to accept the ghost, she also started to accept her own situation. She began creating new memories, rebuilding her life from scratch. The strange face in the mirror had, in a bizarre way, helped her heal. By focusing on helping another lost soul, she had inadvertently started to find herself. The hauntings eventually stopped altogether. The spirit, finally acknowledged, seemed to have moved on. Eleanor never fully regained her old memories. She remained, in many ways, a new person forged in the crucible of trauma and a supernatural encounter. Her story leaves us with an unsettling question. What is real? Was it truly a ghost? Or did Eleanor's mind create a narrative so powerful that it manifested in a way that felt completely real, even aligning with historical facts as a way to cope and heal? It's a true ghost story about psychological paranoia, a chilling tale that challenges all our senses. It reminds us that sometimes the most profound mysteries lie not in the world around us, but deep within the labyrinth of our own minds. What do you think happened to Eleanor? Was it a genuine haunting, or a masterpiece of psychological self-preservation? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the strange and unexplained. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the unknown. Until next time, stay curious.